Hi everyone, Rachel here from Bookpiles. Welcome to a catch-up video. Firstly, thank you for all the well wishes regarding my mother. Things are pretty much back on track as they're going to be now, I think, for her. We've been very lucky, but it's taken a little bit of time just to figure out, a few things and develop new routines and systems. So it's sort of the last week or so that I've started to come out of the fog, if you like, a little bit. So I think I am ready to recap basically December and January and what I'm up to currently. This won't be a long video. So I have a piece of paper with my notes on, so I will look down just to remind me of things, and we will crack on. So December I was going to do a historical romance readathon, and I think there were 16 squares on the board, and I think I had got 14 books on my list, but not of the 14, 4 or 5 of them were the books previous in a series to the one that was on the list for the readathon, if that makes sense. So I needed to read the one before it before I could read the one from the readathon. I read 3 books in the month of December, and I learned that readathons in December are not a good idea for me, because I'm basically the chief cook and bottle washer. So, all the lead up to Christmas stuff, I've got to do all of that. So it ended up that there just wasn't enough hours in the day with everything that needed to be done. So I read 3 books. And I think that, and I can't remember if I said this in the, did I do a stats video? Not sure, good point. Anyway, I think I read 59 out of 60 books. I don't think I made it to 60. Anyway, and that doesn't matter. I've got absolutely no, if I don't make it to what number I've set on Goodreads, it doesn't bother me at all. Reading is for pleasure. It's not a race, and it's not who reads the most books. So, the 3 books I read in December, I started out with It Happened in Autumn by Lisa Kleypas, and that's book 2 in the Wallflowers. And it is Lillian and Marcus's story. I confess that I had to, during my lunch break just now, go back through Amazon and read about all of these books, because they all went in one ear and out the other. Which suggests that they're not great, but that's probably, well, it isn't the case. It's just I've had so many other things on my mind that I just can't retain these books at the moment. So but what I remember about Lillian and Marcus, first of all, it's a hate to love, and that's probably my favourite genre in historical romance. She devises a little plan, so how do I explain this? I don't like to give spoilers, so I don't want to tell you the specifics. Let's go with, she devised a little plan with the help of somebody to see if she could snare a male. And it worked, except that it worked on the person that she didn't want it to work on. So there was all sorts of, did this thing work and trap him, or, why, whatever. But yeah, as I say, it was a hate to love, and I actually think I enjoyed it. Lillian is one of the 2 Americans in the 4 Wallflower girls, so she's a bit brash, and I think a lot of people can't handle that, as in the English male in the stories, not in, real life. So, yeah, it was alright. It was fine. Then I read Devil in Winter, which was the book that I needed to read for the readathon. Probably to do with winter. I don't know. I don't remember because I don't have that page in front of me anymore. And this is Evie and Sebastian's story. Now, book 2, Lillian and Marcus's story, ends with a bit of a twist, and book 3 sort of kind of picks up and runs on with that, or comes out the other side of that, probably is a better way of saying it. And I quite liked book 3. Evie is the stammer, has a stammer, but yeah, a stammer. And I liked how that was, how it was talked about in this book, and how she was around Sebastian, who is the hero. And he ended up, for all his faults in book 2, he ended up being, I think, quite a nice bloke, if I remember rightly. It's a nice story. She needs his help to get out of a situation, and then he observes her caring for her dying father, and then he has to care for her. One or other of them gets sick. I can't remember which way around. Yeah, and then there's also another accident. So there's a lot of caring going on in this book, I think, if I remember rightly. So probably of the two, I think I prefer Devil in Winter to the autumn book, but they're both fine. And then the third book I read in December was The Air by Grace Burrows, and Grace Burrows was the read a book by an author part of the readathon, and there was a group read book, but that didn't appeal to me. I have a feeling it might actually, without me going back to look, because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, it might have actually been a book further into the series than the one I read. So I read the first book of a series. So I read The Air, and that's the first book in the Wyndham series, and there are 8 books in that series. I'm a little bit flummoxed about books 4 to 8 because we haven't really had a lot of mention of the people in those books in the first book that I read, and spoiler alert, the second book. So I'm hoping by the time I get to book 3 they are being talked about a bit more, to lead on into the rest of the series. So The Air is, who are they? Gail Wyndham, who is the Earl of something, Westhaven I think, and Anna. And it's a nice little love story. His father is trying to marry him off, so in order to escape those plans, he decides to winter in London. Summer would be the season, so I don't know. He basically escapes to his his London townhouse, and stays away from his father, the Duke, who is trying to marry him off to ensure that the dukedom will carry on and there'll be an heir and all of those sorts of things. Gail is also the firstborn legitimate son of the Duke, but the Duke has 2 illegitimate children, a son and a daughter, I think. The second one's a daughter. But he acknowledges them and they are in the family fold. So I think that's how we end up with all these people in this 8 book series. So Anna's got secrets. She's hiding. She's basically on the run. She might not even be using her real name. I can't remember now. But that all fleshes out towards the end of the book, and how do I do this? Because I was kind of spoiling. I've read books 1 and 2 in the series, and I prefer book 2. Let's put it that way. I think book 1 is setting the scene. It's introducing us to the family. there are two brothers who come and stay in the house as well. So Anna, who is the housekeeper, but clearly, yeah, note appalling book review. She isn't technically a housekeeper in her life, but because she is on the run, she is masquerading as a housekeeper, and he and his brothers have picked up on the fact that she is too posh, knows things, says things certain ways, whatever, that signal that she is hiding something. There we go. And then we have the love story and the interaction with the brothers, and I enjoyed the book enough that I want to read at least the first 3 books in the series. As I say, I felt that the characters from books 4 to 8 weren't talked about enough in book 1. I don't remember. I could be wrong. So I'm curious to see how that plays out in book 3 before I decide if I'm going to carry on with the series. So that was December. Then into January, I think I had 4 books on my TBR, 2 related to my self-reliance issues and 2 historical romances. Did I have more than that? I don't know. I ended up reading 3 books altogether because my mother's stroke was on the 4th, and for that first week when she was in hospital she slept a lot, so I could basically sit and read while she was asleep. So I did get a couple of books read, but since she's been home I haven't read, so that's another spoiler. So I read I should have pointed out, this is why it's been ages since I've done a book video. The 3 books that I read in December, and the other 2 that I'm going to talk about, are all on the Kindle, and I'll insert, hopefully, I will insert pictures at the relevant point. I've probably not left enough gaps to do it, but it'll be its usual mishmashy inserting editing job. So anyway, prior to the 4th, might have been the day before, I did read A Year Without the Grocery Store, and I think for the most part it was a short thing. I read it in the afternoon. For the most part I knew all the stuff, so it was good just to have that re-drummed into me, but I think probably what I took away from this is working out quantities. So sitting down and thinking about your meals, and then how many times do you want those meals, and what ingredients are there for, how much ingredients do you need to have, blah blah blah. I'm not in any, at any time soon looking to try this as an experiment. I was just looking at it with a view to food storage and things like that. So I got that read, and then the next 2 books were on the Kindle while I was sitting in the hospital, basically. So I read Scandal in Spring, which was the 4th Wallflower book. There is a novella which I think is a Christmas novella, and I'm going to wait until December. I might pick it up at some point, but I probably won't read it until December. So Scandal in Spring is Daisy and Matthew, and Daisy is Lillian's sister, so she's the other American in the story, and her father basically is at his wit's end, and he's like, we've been in London for X amount of time, you haven't managed to find a husband yet. If you haven't got one by the end of the season, you're marrying such and such, who happens to be Matthew, one of his trusted employees. So she's like, I am not marrying that poor excuse for a bloke, and she sets about trying to not marry him. However, what she remembers from him is not how he is now, and obviously they fall in love eventually, but there are secrets, mostly on his part. He is hiding a big secret, and when that blows up, it could cause him a lot of grief, so there's a lot of angst around that. Yeah, it's probably not my favourite of the four. It was nice to see everybody, all the previous three couples floated in and out of this book. We saw a lot of Lillian and Marcus because of the sisterly bond. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. I'm glad I read the series, and I'm glad I read all of them. I quite like reading the series. I don't always like all the books from the series, so as I said, it was probably my least favourite. Yeah. Then the last book I read actually is The Soldier, which is book 2 in the Wyndhams. So this is Gale, who is the Earl of Westhaven in book 1. It's his illegitimate brother, Devlin St. Just, who is fully enmeshed in the family. He's not an outcast. He's not fighting to get in and gain his place. He's a full participating member of the family and acknowledged as such. And his there it is. Couldn't see her name. His lady interest is Emmeline. So where to start? I really liked this book. I really liked this couple. I really liked him. He has a lot of battle scars, mental battle scars, and they come out in certain ways, sounds or weather or something like that, and he's quite protective of things, and he takes a real shine to her, but she's like, I'm not good enough for you. Her family's been ostracized in the village. He has been given, now how do I work this out? Because it partly involves a spoiler, so I can't do that. He ends up being given a title and moving to, I'm going to say Yorkshire, but I'm not 100% certain I'm right. I think I am right, it is Yorkshire. And she is she related to? Emmeline is somehow related to Anna, who is the wife in book 1, or the love interest and wife in book 1. So there's all a little bit of, jiggery pokery and shifting of titles and things like that. But that aside, he was lovely. Even with all his scars, and he would get angry at times, but his love interest in her, his treatment of her, was, I just really liked it. She cares for a young child, and the way he takes the child, again, no, alright, I'm not going down there because it's a spoiler. Basically he takes the child under his wings as well, and the way he interacts with the child is really lovely. I'm not a big fan of having kids in these historical romance books. I think it comes from, I used to have a career in childcare, and I don't know, I just don't want to read about that sort of thing in my historical romance books. So, but this one was fine. I was very happy with it. I really enjoyed, really enjoyed this book. It's probably so far the best book I've read this year, which is not saying much because there's only 6 books. As far as buying books, I've actually only brought 2. One was The Soldier, and one is The Virtuoso, which is book 3 in the Wyndhams. So again, they're ebooks. I haven't even yet cleared a space on the shelf for this year's purchases, so it's all a bit abysmal, really. Or not. My bank balance is quite happy. Yeah. So February so far, I haven't actually read a book at all yet. I am itching to get on to The Soldier, which is another brother in the Wyndham series. So I will probably put that on my March TBR. I haven't really thought too much ahead about that yet, but I guess I'm going to need to, because it's only a week or so away. So I'll probably just not worry about reading in February, and again, I'm not going to worry if I don't read, when I go onto Goodreads, it's going to tell me I'm 4 books behind on schedule. I'm not going to worry about that. I will either, well, first of all, I'm not going to worry about it. That's the deadline. If I get to December and I've only read 50 of 60 books, so be it. But I can catch up if I am so inclined, if I do a readathon whereby I do it in the course of a week, and I set my week up so that I can basically read. I can get 5 or 6 books read in a week if I clear the decks, basically. So that might be something I do in the winter, bearing in mind I'm in New Zealand and we're in summer at the moment, so there's heaps of stuff that needs doing outside and things like that. Yeah, so I might look at doing something like that if I feel like I want to bring my numbers up a bit, but as I say, in the grand scheme of things, it's no big deal. It's not a race. It doesn't bother me if I don't read what I've set as just a target, if you like, to work towards. So that's where we're at, and yeah. I need to spend some time thinking about March. I think last March I did a book from several readathons. There are a few readathons through March. There's the Irish readathon. I think there was Middle Grade March. There is March of the Mammoths. Were there 4 or 3? I don't remember. So I don't know whether I will touch something like along those lines and read something from each category. Middle grade wise, it would probably involve having to go to the library, which I probably don't want to do at the moment. We are here at the start of the Omicron outbreak, so we haven't peaked yet and come down the other side. So I am, because of my mother's health concerns, I'm basically only going out to the supermarket and her essential appointments. So to try and just keep it outside our house, because she probably wouldn't fare very well, even though she is vaccinated. So anyway, that is neither here nor there on this video. Yeah, I will spend the best part of the next week thinking about what I do for March, and I will come back next week with a video on what I plan to do. And I'm ready to start reading again. I'm itching to get into the virtuoso, so we'll see how we go. Alright, well, I apologise for a bit of a rubbish catch-up video. I'm never good at book reviews in the first instance, so when I don't even remember what the book's about, it's hopeless. Yeah, anyway, it is what it is. At least I have managed to sit down and get one done, and hopefully there'll be another one next week. Alright, take care everyone, and I will catch you again soon. Bye for now.